The hypocrisy. We shouldn't be surprised about hypocrisy in the House of Commons, but the hypocrisy surrounding those MPs charging energy bills as expenses while cutting winter fuel payments to pensioners encapsulates the disconnect between Westminster and the lives of ordinary people, as MPs collectively charged taxpayers £300,000 last year for gas and electricity at their second homes. The decision to strip universal winter fuel payments from vulnerable pensioners appears especially galling, especially cruel. 36 Labour ministers, including Chancellor Rachel Reeves, have charged their energy bills to taxpayers while leading the decision to cut universal winter fuel payments. Pensioners, many of whom already struggle to heat their homes, now face even greater hardships compounded by the rising energy price cap. The energy price cap rises to £1,738 per year. Now, Rachel Reeves may have good reasons for claiming a rebate on her energy bills, but she can't hold her head high and say that she's doing this with on a principle when she is also cutting the fuel to pensioners. She needs to act with dignity and with honour, and at the moment she's acting like a shit. While the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority permits MPs to claim energy expenses at second homes, critics argue that this insulates MPs from the cost of living crisis that their constituents endure, and the optics are damning. Ministers earning substantial salaries seem shielded from the very policies that they're imposing on others. Ministers, pensioner advocacy groups like Silver Voices and End Fuel Poverty Coalition highlight the intensity and the insensitivity of these claims. They argue that MPs are shielded while their constituents face impossible choices between heating and eating, and campaigners label this practice as a failure of moral leadership. It's legal, but it's unethical. And the people who are those 36 Labour MPs, the 36 Labour ministers who collectively take collective responsibility for that decision to cut pensioners' fuel allowance, must recognise that this is a statement and it needs to be answered. You know, there is a point where it's necessary to stand up and say we are being ruled by a cabinet of ministers whose hands are dripping in ordure, and they are behaving like swine, and it's unacceptable to have that level of double standards. Yes, we've seen so much of it in the last Conservative government. Yes, maybe you can say this is what happens when people are given power, but there has to come a point where we stand up and say, okay, so you've got power, so you've got the opportunity to behave in this appalling way, so take the name that comes with it. Take the name. Recognise that you are behaving like the ordure-infested filth that you actually are, that you are hypocrites. Labour defends MPs claiming expenses, suggesting that it levels the playing field, allowing non-wealthy individuals to serve in Parliament. But that service comes with a responsibility not to behave like a hypocrite. If you want to behave like a hypocrite, go and live in Moscow. But the fair point, it doesn't excuse an apparent lack of self-awareness, particularly as MPs voted to strip older citizens of comparable support. Since 2019, MPs have claimed over £1.2 million in energy bills. In 2023 to 24 alone, the sum reached £293,000, a sharp rise compared to the £241,000 the previous year. Fuel poverty campaigners argue that these claims don't pass the smell test, with rising energy bills and shrinking support for pensioners fueling public outrage. Even some MPs acknowledge the risk of a backlash, with one new Labour MP stating it is unwise to claim expenses in the current climate. This is about moral leadership. It's not about what is legal, It's not about what is allowed. It's about what is morally appropriate for the people who are in our cabinet. And we need to highlight the disconnect between MPs' financial decisions and their policy-making responsibilities. We need to emphasise clearly, and we need to state clearly, and if one of these MPs happens to be your MP, you need to be firing off letters, emphasising how symbolic gestures like refusing to claim energy bills could rebuild public trust. But once that public trust has been lost, then I don't see how these people, these individuals, these 36 cabinet ministers can hold their heads high as they go about their public duties. There will be an increasing public backlash as this subject and this story reaches the mainstream press, but pensioners' voices illustrate the human cost of these policies, and we need to juxtapose their struggles with MPs' comfortable expense arrangements and the cosy warmth of the red and green benches in the parliamentary debating chambers. We need to call for reform and propose practical solutions such as capping energy expenses or aligning them with universal support schemes for pensioners based on age, not based on form filling, to ensure shared accountability. And leadership isn't about rules alone. Leadership is about setting examples that resonate with fairness, with empathy, and with a recognition of the honour that has been accepted by these people who have been elected to office. If they don't want to act honourably, now is the opportunity for them to duck out and to remove themselves from that honourable membership. If they want to continue claiming expenses while depriving other people of the opportunity, they aren't honourable members. And they simply demonstrate, as these expenses suggest, that the expense claims stink, and so do they.